recording, so I think, yeah, I think it would have started recording. Yeah, so I think it should be fine. Right, thank you. Thanks for reminding, Meta. Okay, so is this clear, all of you? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, but in interview they will ask to explain the law in detail.
In the interview, you're asking if they're going to ask you to explain the log? No, they're not going to ask you. No.
Or will they ask what are the law rights or nothing?
They might just ask you, till now, I mean, I've not faced an interview where they ask you what's a log, but if they ask you, it's the basic definition, whatever you say, any record that is being, all the devices manages the record, it records all the events, right? You can just tell that is nothing but a log, right? But nobody will ask you, right, that can you explain this log to me? No. We did this activity so that we understand what a log is, right? Because I can give you access to Splunk, I can ask you guys to, I can straight away start with Splunk, but then there'll be a lot of logs. Before we jump into the sea, we should know at least a little bit of swimming, right? So this log is such that when you see it, you should not, it should not bounce off over your head. You just have to have the basic understanding. That's it. That's the only reason. It's the foundation, right? That's the only reason we did this activity. In the interview, whatever I'm going to teach from today, whatever I'm going to tell you guys from today is something, you can focus for your interviews. Okay, and I'll tell you what has been asked in the interview in the past. What are the things that you have to focus on? I'll definitely tell you guys. I'll mention about it. You don't have to worry. Okay. Everybody on the same page? Timanna, Avinash,
Yes,
Chandru,
Shruti.
Supreet,
Yes, Shruti.
Gaurav, Ken, Deepak, Vineet, Shweta. Yes?
Good so far, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So let's jump into, I think you guys are waiting. There's a long awaited topic, SIM. So SIM, what is SIM? So we'll just understand the basics as to why are we even learning SIM, right? So I'll take the questions once I complete explaining. All right, so I'll go back and see the questions later, right, in the chat. But before we jump in, let me tell you why are we even learning about SIM, right? Why is there so much of weightage on SIM, right? So, sorry. Where is it? Okay. Okay. So as analysts, as SOC analysts, right? What is our job? At least you might guys have little idea, right? Like what does a SOC analyst do? So anybody wants to give it a try? Anybody?
Analyze logs.
Okay. Analyze logs. All right.
Analyze the logs and forward to the required team.
Sorry.
Traits.
Can you come again? Can you come again?
Escalate
Analyze
threat.
the log and raise the incident.
Analyze the logs, raise the incident, monitoring the network, monitoring and analyzing the data. Okay, all right. So I'm not sharing my screen. One moment. All right. So yes, all of you are right. Okay, we are there to make sure that our infra that we monitor our infrastructure, To monitor our infrastructure, right? What have we done? We have installed something called as a SIEM. It's a centralized unit wherein we get logs from all these devices, right? We use this, a component called as SIEM, wherein we get logs from various devices and we analyze using SIEM. So without SIEM, right, whatever you guys did till yesterday, we will have to do that manually. Is that practical?
Practically
That's
impossible.
not practical, right? Imagine, we took a lot of time to even, analyze just hardly 4 or 5 logs because it is completely new for many of you, right? So it is not ideal. I mean, it is practically impossible for a person to sit and analyze these logs from different sources, right? Uh, if I have to monitor Windows logs, then I have to, probably check, monitor only the Windows logs. If I have to check the, what do you call, firewall logs, then probably it dumps the logs onto a different machine and I have to sit and analyze the logs there. It is practically not possible, right? That's the reason, 1 moment, sharing back the screen. That's the reason SIM becomes an important tool in our, in analyzing, in collecting the logs, right? You should have all the logs in one centralized location. Otherwise, wouldn't it be very difficult to log into each and every monitoring, security control, or each and every, machine or server and trying to analyze the log? It is not possible. So we need some kind of a centralized location wherein we can get all of these logs in one place, right? And we can add some intelligence to it and, work, I mean, probably analyze the logs, write some rules, right? So that is the reason SIM plays a very important role. SIM plays an important role. All right. So if we go ahead, right? So initially it was called as security information management. All right. So it was mostly focused on storing of the data, right? One centralized location, storing the data. All right. And definitely for compliance purpose. Okay. So they were just analyzing the data, storing the data, analyzing it, and basic reporting and stuff that was done initially. That's why it is called security information management. Whatever the data, you're managing the data, right? So it is called security information management. But over a period of time, what happened? They thought, okay, since we are already getting all the logs, it's a real-time data that we are getting, right? We can monitor the real-time data, and probably if there is any mismatch, if let's say if there is any, uh, you know uh, behavior which is, looks suspicious, probably we can trigger that as some kind of an event, right? We can probably check those specific, abnormalities. So that's the reason I mean, it was, it evolved into something called as security event management. All right. And over a period of time, it is still evolving, right? It is still evolving. So after a period of time, these two were clubbed, and then we call it as SIEM, security information and event management. So what did we do yesterday? We were getting the logs from various devices. These are just single, I mean, these are just logs from, just one log from one particular device, right? Imagine getting thousands of such logs per, hour or minute, whatever you, however big your organization is, right? Imagine getting so many logs, right? So what happens? You need a centralized solution. That's the reason you collect the logs from various sources. You put it in one place. We are going to call that as SIM. Whatever you want to analyze, whatever you want to, however you want to manage the data, right? We are doing it from one console. We are doing it from one console. On top of that, we are adding some intelligence. When I say intelligence, it could be as simple as, creating an alert. Like if at all this criteria meets, for example, like I said yesterday, if at all we see connections towards port 53, destination port 53, trigger an alert. A simple one I'm just talking. Trigger an alert. So what happens? So SIEM has the capability to go through the log, right? If at all it sees any traffic wherein it says the destination port, this is the destination port, right? Destination port is equal to 53, it will trigger an alert, right? So all of these things can be done in a using a solution called as SIEM. Okay, so to put it in a very simple way, let's take a to understand how this actually works, right? How SIEM actually works. We'll take a very simple example. All right, I'll come back to this. Right, I'll tell you why I drew an upside down triangle. So to take a very layman kind of an example, everybody knows supermarkets, right? Probably in the US it's like Target, or in India like something like Big Bazaar, right? Big Bazaar, or any such supermarkets. It's like one stop shop wherein sorry, I missed some messages. Okay. Yeah, any supermarket like your Target or your Big Bazaar, wherein you get into that like Big Bazaar, you get all the things, not only food, right? You get electronics, you get home supplies, you get stationery, right? You get everything. So let's say you guys have very short period of time, right? You have a time constraint and you have to shop for a lot of things. So many people opt to they opt going to such places wherein under one roof you get multiple things. Yes or no? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, in one place you get everything, you're saving the time as well, you're getting whatever you want, right? You will definitely opt for such places. So let's take an example of something called as a Big Bazaar. So like I said, Big Bazaar is nothing but a retail outlet, right? It's a retail outlet like your Target, correct? One stop shop for everything. So in this particular Big Bazaar, you get everything. You get electronics, you get stationery, you get food, groceries, right? And what else? Clothing, electrical appliances done, right? You get all of these. So now tell me, right? How does this how does this work? How does this work? So when you are setting up, the store, Big Bazaar store, right? Will we get electronics, stationery, groceries, food, cloth from one single person? Is there one single supplier for all of these things? Is
No.
there only one person who's going to dump all of these things for me? Or I'm
No.
going to get it from different people?
Different
Get
people.
Different people.
Correct? I'm going to have different vendors, right? I might get clothing.
Yeah.
Even under clothing, if you see, right, there are multiple brands. All right, there are multiple brands like Levi's. We have H&M. I'm just giving example. There's no H&M in Big Bazaar, but just for learning sake, right? So let's say Levi's things are, there's a different vendor for who deals with Levi's clothing. So that person gives us all the dumps all of it. A different person for H&M, different person for food, different for grocery, stationery, and electronics, right? Even in electronics you have multiple brands, right? So you have different vendors for that also. So can we not take it as different log sources? So let's, for an analogy sake, we can think electronic, whatever, electronics, let it be from like your servers. You will have multiple servers, right? You have multiple servers, you have multiple host machines, you have multiple, what do you call, security monitoring devices, right? So all of these are what? These are different log sources from where we are getting the logs. Very much similar to logs is the things, whatever these big bazaar guys get, right? So electronics, stationery, groceries, whatever, they'll have different vendors, right? They will have different vendors, and these vendors come and drop everything to the warehouse, correct? So once, let's say, all of this is what big bazaar deals with, right? All of this, and the vendors come to the warehouse, right? They're going to drop everything in the warehouse. So what happens in the warehouse? What happens in the warehouse once they drop everything?
We'll check
Packaging
it.
and
No, the warehouse representative will take it to their main places.
Yeah, so before that, don't you think they would probably okay, so now all of this is dumped in the warehouse. So now the warehouse manager or the warehouse person, what do? Let's say everything gets dumped, all right, on a single day, right? So what do these people do? Don't you think they, once they unload everything, right, they're going to rip off the packaging? Of course, they come in huge cartons, right? Let's say your soaps or your stationery, right? It comes in huge boxes, right? So they're going to rip off all of those unwanted packaging, the bubble wrap, the paper wrap, whatever, right? They're going to discard all of that, and they're going to arrange it in different aisles or rows. Yes, why are they arranging it? Why do you think they'll arrange everything? Are you guys understanding what I'm trying to say?
Yes, Sudhi.
Yeah. So
For,
what I'm
for
trying
the
to
ease of
say is,
access,
I'm sorry.
for the easy of access, we are
Yeah,
arranging.
correct. Exactly. For the ease, right? If at all the person goes, dumps everything in one particular place, then again, if they have to go back and search, it would be a mess. It would be a mess. So what do? Once they get all of these things, once it gets dumped in your warehouse, right? Once it gets dumped in the warehouse people, what do? They're going to rip off the unwanted packaging from unwanted packaging, your bubble wrap, whichever is not needed. They're going to unpack everything. All right. Then they're going to arrange it in a proper row or a rack, whatever you call it as. Right. So when they are arranging it, for ease of understanding, they would have mentioned, okay, this row belongs to I mean, this row is only for storing stationery. All right, only for stationery. So once the stationery items are got, once they remove all the packaging, they're going to they're going to store, or they're going to what do you call, stack everything in the row or the rack which says stationery. Similarly, when the food comes, right, when the food, let's say eatable, all these consumables, right, when that comes, they might have a separate row or a rack which is called as consumables, and they're going to store everything, they're going to stack everything over here in this is, sorry, that is C, that is consumables, right? Similarly, when the food when the clothing comes, right, they might have a different rack which says it is for wardrobe, and they're going to stack all the clothing here. Why are they doing it? They're doing it because in the front store, right, where we people have access to, right, when we people have access to, right, when we are shopping, let's say there are few items from stationery which is which is empty, right? They have to go and refill it, right? So what do? They have to these guys, the warehouse people, they have to go to the warehouse. They don't have to go and search where should I get stationery from. They know where to go. Where will they go? They will go to the row which is tagged as stationery, right? There will be a label, right? This is where the stationaries are stored. They will go here, they will fetch the stationery, they will come back and refill it, right? Had there been no labeling, or had there been no categorization, wouldn't it be difficult for that person to go find out in this whole big warehouse where will that person go and find stationery? It would take a lot of time. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only reason. What did they do? They categorized everything, they labeled everything so that everything is in a very organized way. And how will this help me? This will help me when I'm trying to refill something, or when I'm trying to get something from my warehouse. Correct?
Correct.
Did everybody understand till here?
Yeah.
Yeah, easy to pick. Correct. So, Chandru, Mohammed, Avinash, Deepak, Syed, everybody able to understand? So far, so good?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. So, very much similar to that, is our SIM solution, right? Yeah. So, before we jump into SIM, let me talk about these vendors. So what about these vendors? How will they come and dump the things onto the warehouse? There should be some contract, right? There should be some contract. There should be some transportation, right? Only then they will come to my warehouse and drop the stuff. Either I go get it or they come and dump it, right? There should be some transport. There should be some contract between the big bazaar people and the vendor. Yes or no?
Yeah.
There'll be some kind of a contract, like, yes, I need I would need the stuff from you guys. Let's say, just for example's sake, let's say I'm just going to tell them, please dump all the vegetables, or yeah, every Monday morning or every alternate days, within this time. And the transportation is all yours. You guys have to get the transportation should be taken care by the vendor. They will sign a contract, so they will have a vehicle. They're going to collect the vegetables, they're going to come and drop it off in big bazaar. Correct? So very much similar to that, what happens in SIM is, right, it collects all the data, right? Like our warehouse. From where does it collect? Now we don't have to think about clothing and stuff here. Here all our data is from servers. It could be application servers, it could be antivirus server, correct? It could be yeah, it could be your FTP. What is FTP? File transfer. So there are few servers which is used only for transferring the file. Why do we use such things? Because let's say we have multiple clients, all right? We deal with a lot of clients day in and day out. There are a lot of documents which both of us exchange, right? And we might have to refer to that, they might have to refer to it, right? So we might set up a file transfer server, FTP server, all right, wherein this will be this server will be able to access, the clients will be able to access this server, even we will be able to access this server, share the information, share the data over here. Okay, so we might get logs from such servers. You have something called as a web server. What is a web server? Web server is, what is a web server?
This is the file.
So let's say socexperts.com, right? I'll just mention it as SE, socexperts.com. So you go to your magic.shockexperts.com, you put in your attendance and stuff, right? So this is not just floating around there in the internet. In the back end, there is a server on which all the code, all the files of this particular website are stored, right? You have written that piece of code, you have installed that particular layer of software like your Apache. Apache is nothing but your it's like an application using which uh, you write your HTML code and stuff. You do all the coding and stuff. And if you make the server public, right, it picks up this particular piece of code and tada, you will have a website. Okay, so this website is not just floating around. There is a piece of information that is stored somewhere in a server, right? That is called as a hosting server. Hosting means hosting, someone who is taking care of it. When you say in your house, we hosted a party, that means what? I am throwing a party. I am taking the lead. I am taking the ownership, right? So here, this server host. Please try to use such words so that these are a few technical words, right? Which anybody would expect out of you. All right. So when I say this website is hosted on a server, that means let's say this server is 10 dot something. All right. And this is my SE website. So I can say my SOC experts website is hosted on 10 dot blah 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 server. That means the piece of code from where this website runs is all on this 10 dot blah 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 server. Okay. And this is called as a web server. Is that clear?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. So do let me know if you do not understand because let me check the messages. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So this is my web server and I can get the logs from the web server. You will understand it more in a better way when we do it practically, and we will be doing it practically. Okay. So what am I doing? I'm getting the logs from my web server also. I'm getting it from my FTP server. AV is nothing but your antivirus server. So from all of these we get. And also, let's say there are some other critical machines. We can get, logs from those machines. Tools. What are tools? Any security tools or any other, internal tools, right? We can get the logs from there also. So multiple logs, right? We need a centralized thing like how we did it in the warehouse. So very much similar. The first stage in SIEM, how it processes the data, it collects everything in a centralized repository. It is a centralized repository. All right. It gets all of these logs, stores it in one place, one single place. All right. Now, what is this? What is this? What symbol is this? You guys should make yourself aware of these symbols also. Okay, so what
Database.
symbol is this?
Database.
Yeah, this
Storage.
is the very good. This is the
Storage.
database. Yes,
Storage.
DB. All right. So whenever you see this symbol, please understand that it is a database. So what is a database? Simplest of the simplest terms, where the data is stored. Right, wherever you store the data. Finally, even my web server, right? It has to store the data somewhere, right? Even in the backend, it might go check the database. It might retrieve some information from the database, right? So database is a place where we store the data. Okay, so I can get the logs from my database as well. And what is this? This is very simple. All of you will know.
Firewall.
Firewall.
Yeah, firewall, and we all know what a firewall is. So firewall, the thing with firewall is you can't directly dump logs, or you can't directly take the logs from firewall. All right. So
Logs, log.
why? Because I'll come to that. Why? So, you guys might ask me, how is it that we are getting all these details? How can we get all this data from various machines? How? Okay, we'll get it, but how? In our Big Bazaar example, right? We had something like a contract. We had the transport. We had the vehicle which would dump all the logs. Here also we need something like a vehicle which we would dump the logs, right? Which would dump the logs, right?
That is the
So
agent.
that vehicle, yes, absolutely. That vehicle is your agent. 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 Like your James Bond agent, right? So what does this agent do? What was your spies do? They monitor. They spy, but let me take it as monitor. All right. So these red things, whatever you're seeing, those are my agents. So what is
Yeah,
agent?
Shruti,
Yes.
sorry to disturb you. So, is there any particular time interval to run an agent on the servers or various of the different tools? Is there any particular time interval, or it will run like an heartbeat each and every 2 to 3 minutes to collect the data?
It
How
depends
the
on
agent will work?
it depends on how often you want these what do you call how often you want all this data to be sent. It
What
depends
is
on
the
you can take it real time, or you can what do you call you can make the you can what do you call you can change the settings wherein it tells you, okay, every day I want the logs at 7 p.m. or every once in 7 days I want the logs to be pushed.
okay? So, if required, we can manually push at any time, right?
Not you need not do it manually. You can
No, if
configure it.
required, if required.
Yes, yes. If required, you can push it manually. Yes. Okay. So this agent, it's an agent which we install on different machines, servers, your tools, on your database, right? You can install this. And when I say an agent, this agent is nothing but a piece of software. It's a piece of software which is meant to do a kind of job. What job? To monitor the log and push the log. That is all. Okay, agent is nothing but a small piece of software. All right, it is nothing but a small piece of software. What does it do? It is meant to do one kind of a job. Okay, it is just meant to do one thing. What is that one thing? It is just used to monitor whatever I want and push the logs to the warehouse, to our collecting unit or our central repository. All right, so we install and we get the logs here. But the thing is, you can't install anything on a firewall OS. So firewall, of course, it will have a OS, right? It will have a OS. You cannot install anything on a firewall. So what you can do in the firewall, there is some configuration in firewall wherein whatever logs are stored in firewall, it has the capability to dump it somewhere like a machine, to any machine. It could be a Windows box, it could be a Linux machine, anything. Okay, that is called as a syslog server. What is a syslog server? A server which is meant to store logs, which is meant to store the system logs basically. All right. If you come across a word called syslog, that means it is meant to store logs. Okay. So since we cannot install agent on a firewall has the capability to dump everything into a different system. All right. To dump everything into a different system, right? And we install an agent over here, and then we get the logs to our SIEM. Is that clear? How we collect the data? We collect the data from various devices, whichever your organization feels the need
Hello.
to
Shruti,
monitor.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yeah.
Hello. So, like in the organization, yeah, in the real time scenario, in the organization, like they are having syslog server and the firewall or checkpoint or whatever data is coming here in the
Hmm.
syslog server.
Hmm.
So it's a real time scenario and in practice everywhere, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Syslog server is what? Like it's a Linux based server
It could be
or
anything.
Windows?
Ah,
It's
it could be
Windows
anything,
based.
whatever you would want to configure it as.
Syslog
Usually,
maybe
Linux
Linux.
servers.
Okay, Linux server.
Usually, it will be Linux servers.
So syslog is like is the role of the server in the Linux
There
machine.
are times wherein you can actually push, a set of logs to a different different machine. It could be either Windows or Linux, all right, in generic term, and we can get the logs from there as well. All right. If you have observed, there was something called as forwarded events in your Windows event viewer. Okay, so we can forward the logs and then we can pick it up from there as well. But usually, it will be a Linux machine, a Linux box, all right, and it is real-time data. It will be sending all the logs to our central repository.
Real time and historical as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yes, of course, yes.
Okay.
So
So
all your
six.
historical data will be available over here. You don't have to, like, once you get everything, I'm going to tell you later, right? Once everything gets stored here. It not only collects, it also stores. So whatever you want to search, you need not go back to your syslog server or your any other servers. You can do all the searching over here itself because everything is stored over here.
Okay.
So you will be taking care of the configuration part between the firewall and the Splunk servers, right?
That will be done by network, whoever manages your firewall. They will do the
Okay.
configuration part, not us.
So what is
SOC,
the part of SOC team here? So just we going to install the agent on Sysla server, am I right?
we are going to install the agents. Yes.
Agents.
All right. We're going to install it, or let's say, not in every case we'll not install. No. If we are not the system owner, let's say this web server is not managed by us. Of course, it will not be managed by us. It will be a different team, right? We will share them the agent, they will install, and we will make sure we will work along with them, to make sure we are getting the logs.
Okay, got you.
Okay, so is collection part clear with all of you?
Okay. Like on the syslog server also we need to install agent, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay.
Syslog server, we can install an agent.
Okay. So Splunk agent, you mean, right?
It could, since, yeah, now I'm talking about, I'll be explaining about Splunk. So yeah, I'll talk about, Splunk agent. But any other SIM solution, right? Even they will be having agents. So whichever device that you use, whichever solution that you use, you can install that particular agent and get the logs.
Okay.
But in our case, yes, it's the Splunk. I will show you how the file looks like. What is the agent, how it looks like.
Shruti, one more question. What if the agent is down? Do we get allowed for that?
Agent will not be down. The
For
thing is,
example,
there could be some
the server,
misconfiguration. There could, even the, the server might go down.
yeah, that is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, 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 yes. So we can write alerts for all of those. When you stop getting, events from a particular system, you can create an alert for that as well. So can't we able to SIM tool agent in firewall? No, we can't. We cannot install. We cannot install, an agent as such here. But of late there are some what do I call, some application which we can install. I'll talk about it later, not now. When I come to Splunk, I'll tell you there is another way. But most organizations it will dump to syslog, and from there you can pick it up.
Hello, Stuti.
Yes.
Is there any criteria we are using multiple SIEM tool in a single environment? Is there any criteria, or we are able to only use
No, you can use
one?
no one sim. One sim will. I mean, I've never seen companies using multiple sim solutions. It'll be the case only if you have different clients and it's the ask from client, right? Only then. I mean, depending on the client, they might use different sim solutions, right? That's all. But
Okay.
no, you need not use multiple sim solutions. You need
Okay.
one. You need one monitoring console, right?
Mm,
You need a one-stop shop. You need a one place to analyze, to right, to get your alerts triggered, to collect the data.
okay. We can literally push the agent to all our environment.
You cannot push the agent. You have to install the agent. All right, you have to install the. I'm talking about Splunk. You have to install that piece of software. All right, then it starts sending all the logs.
Okay. But we need to push the agent all our environment. It's our
Uh,
client machine.
See, there is no concept of pushing the agent. That's what. I don't have anything to push the agent. So how can I push the agent? I should have some connectivity between my core, whatever the what collecting unit is, and the server, right?
I think
Only if
he's
there is
trying
some
to
connection
say
I can
like I
push
think he's trying to say like in the organization like we have SCM.
SCCM to push. Huh. So
Yeah,
for your
so he's
SCCM,
Yeah.
yeah he's using that terminology like we can
oh,
push it.
like that. Okay, okay. No, no, no,
We can
no.
push the agent via SCM like on the
See.
Windows machines or
If you have, see, the problem with this is, right, usually whichever servers or whichever devices you want to monitor, only those, you will actually share that file and they will install it on those machines. Usually, I have not seen the agent being pushed on all the machines. Why? Because there's also one more. See, you have your end user machines also, no? You have your end user machines also, and in organizations, it is highly unlikely that all your endpoints will also have these what do you call agents, SIM agent or your Splunk agent. Because imagine getting logs from each and every end user machine, and that will also not add much value, right? Because you might have already antivirus, you might have endpoint detection and response, you might have DLP already monitoring your systems, right? So it doesn't make sense if you have to monitor each and every system. No, since you have antivirus, if you have DLP, we can get the logs from here itself. I don't want to monitor each and every system.
Okay.
yeah that's fine. Like in SSCM we have the functions like we can select whatever we want to install or wherever we want to install. So we have that is
Then
capable
it
enough.
totally, then it totally depends on how your organization wants. If they want to push, if they have, made up a group of servers or the systems to which you have to push, you have to install this particular agent, then yes, you can do that.
Means it totally depends on
But
the company environment, company
yes, it
decision.
totally depends on the company environment. And there is also an option in Splunk that is called as a deployment server. Okay, we need
Mm.
not even deployment server. If it is the same set of machines, right, we can use a deployment server and we can push it to those machines. You need not use a SCCM. You can use a deployment server if all of these servers are similar. I will talk about this later. Let's not deviate from the topic, but that is what you have an option in Splunk as well.
Yeah, you can continue now. Like maybe we can go on Splunk now.
Ah, yeah, sure. But you need to install agents in all servers or only required users. In QRadar, in all Windows server, we push Windows collect. Rahul, yeah, like I said, right? Usually, if at all we push agents, even in Splunk, you can push it to all your Windows machines. Yes, all the user machines, you can install agents and you can get all the Windows event viewer logs. You can get it. Okay, it is not about can or can't. It is just that, some organizations feel it is huge amount of data, right? Just to get these Windows Event Viewer logs, it'll be a huge amount of data. That too, if it's a company of hundreds of employees, imagine the amount of data it will be collecting, and not necessarily everything would make sense to you, right? So instead of that, you already have endpoint solutions. And guys, when I say endpoint solution means any it could be any what do you call software or any security tool which is used to monitor your endpoint, like your antivirus, like your DLP, like your EDR is endpoint detection and response. Right? Were you guys told about EDR and all in your T1 or whatever in the previous module?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, fine. So like EDR, all these are endpoint solutions, correct? So we can directly get logs from EDR instead of each and every system. I mean, it totally depends on organization. Very much depends. You mean to install the agent in all servers or only required users? You can see whichever server you want to monitor. Okay, server, tool, system, endpoint machine, database server, anything. Whichever your organization feels the need to monitor, you install that agent and you get the logs. Okay. Is that
Yeah.
okay, Mohammed? Yeah. Others? Any doubts still collection?
No.
No, it's very simple. We install the agent, we get the logs from various devices. All right, in one console. So the first step is collecting. You're collecting various logs from various devices. You're dumping in one place, right? You're collecting it in one place. Okay. So once
Yeah,
the logs are dumped, what happened in our big bazaar? Once the things were dumped, the warehouse people, right? They removed the unwanted packages, the bubble wrap, the huge cartons, right? They got rid of all of it, right? And they put it in a they arranged it in a proper rack, proper shelves, right? Yes or no? This is what they did.
Yes.
Very much similar to that is the next step, whatever happens in SIEM. So now there's a very small, what do you call, an activity, a task for you guys. When you see both of these events or logs, whatever you call it as, right? Is this different? I'm talking about the information it holds. The information, both the logs, is it different or is it the same?
Same.
It's the same
Different.
information but written in different format.
Exactly, right? Chandru, Deepak, Syed, Pooja, do you guys agree?
yeah, it's good. Like in the line one, like it is very easy to understand. And then if we see the line
Yeah,
two,
ma'am.
then it's some difficult.
Yeah. So it is the same thing, right? It is
Yeah,
the
ma'am. It
same
look
user
like
ID.
different.
It looks different,
Mm,
but if you see the what do you call, the information, it is the same, right? It might say
yes.
access denied here, but it says authentication failed here, right? But the information, yes, it is Joseph who has failed to authenticate. That's it. Correct. So what happened even in our Big Bazaar example, let's say we were getting products from electronic items from different vendors. It could be different vendors, right? But still, what am I going to do? I'm going to arrange it all in a similar format itself, right? Even though I'm getting electronic items, from different people, from different vendors, right? Different companies, what is what I mean. I'm going to arrange it all in one single pane itself, right? Very much similar to that is your next concept, which is normalizing and parsing. So what happens in normalizing and parsing is, just give me 1 quick minute. I had started the server, I believe. No, I did not.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, yes.
Hello,
Hello?
Stuti.
Yes, yes, I'm here. Tell me. I can hear you. Whoever's speaking.
Yeah.
Who's that? Sumit.
There is some
Yeah, tell me.
disturbance. I'm not able to hear.
Okay. If you have anything to say, if there's a disturbance, can you please post it in the group chat?
Yeah.
It's fine for me, like I can hear.
Yeah. So if okay. So if you have any questions, please post it in the group chat. I'll just run this for now. Give me 1 quick minute. No, nothing, Sumit. All right. I don't see any messages. Right. Okay. Anyway, going forward, right? Let's see, once the data is collected, the next step is normalizing and parsing. So what happens in normalizing and parsing is, I will show you an example of this when we switch to Splunk, all right? When we move on to Splunk, I will show you actually what happens, okay? Just have to wait, right? But theoretically, I'll just tell you right now, okay? So when you're getting all of these logs, right, it is difficult for us to understand. Let's say even in your organizations, right, you won't be using firewall only from Palo Alto. You'll have a combination of firewalls from Cisco, Palo Alto, right? These are different vendors, guys. Cisco is also a vendor, Palo Alto is also a vendor, right? You might use a combination of multiple vendors. And if I compare the logs from Palo Alto, if I compare the logs with Palo Alto with Cisco, right, the format might be different, like what you see here. All right. So what does SIEM do? What does SIEM do? It is going to put up a template. All right. It is going to have a template. All right. In this template, it says, okay, in this template, what does it say? It says it gives you some kind of a values. All right. Let's say action, action, and let's say IP, let's say user. Okay, so it is like a template. It will create a particular template. Why? So as to standardize, so as to normalize the data. So when this template is applied to these two logs, what happens? First, it says action, right? So when it sees this particular log, action here means it is denied. Action here means it's failed. So it understands, it has that understanding, it has that intelligence to pick it up under action, and it's going to mention denied or failed or whatever. Similarly, it has something called as IP. So it has the intelligence to pick up, okay, this is the IP. The IP is over here in this particular log, but this is the IP, and it is going to fill up the space as IP. User detail, right? It has a particular format. Okay, this is the user ID is Joseph K. So I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to mention Joseph over here. So this is the same thing whatever the warehouse people did. What did they do? They chopped the data, right? They removed unwanted stuff. They removed whichever was not wanted, right? What did they do? They created a rack, all right? They stacked everything in a proper way. They organized everything in a proper way. Let that be soap. Let's say we are getting soap from multiple vendors, different brands, right? Even though if it is from different brand, you're going to stack it all in a same format, right? Everything will be stacked, grouped and stacked in the same format, correct? So normalizing and parsing. Normalizing is nothing but it gives you a template, and parsing is mapping the text into field. So if you remember the activity which I gave you guys to do yesterday, I wanted you guys to do the parsing part. Why? Because I gave you the log. I told you pick up whichever you think is needed. I asked you guys to name it like source IP and put in the value next to it. Yes or no?
Yes.
So what was that
Correct.
activity? That was kind of normalizing and parsing, right? I gave you the raw log. I wanted you guys to make that template given the field names. When I say field name, that means Joseph is a user, right? So user is the label which I'm giving. That's the name of the field. IP is the name of the field and the value is Joseph. I will name this as IP, right? I'm going to label that as IP. That is nothing but the name of that particular field, correct? So we created a template. I wanted you guys to create a template, map the values. That is what your SIEM does. We don't have to do it manually. The SIEM has the intelligence to do it. The developers have developed in such a way that it is able to understand the log. It will normalize it. Okay, it will apply a template and it will parse the data. When I say parse, that means it maps the data, it chops the data. Chopping, cutting, it cuts. This is denied, action is denied. This is IP, I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to map it to IP. I'm going to cut this off. This is the user. I'm going to put it over here. Is that clear, all of you? Does
Yeah,
that
it's
make
clear.
sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Please stop me. Please do not hold yourself back. If you did not understand, I can explain it again. Let me know if you want me to repeat. Just type repeat or ask me to repeat. I'll repeat it. As everybody understood.
Yes, Shruti.
Yes. I'm just want to
Yeah.
know others as well. Okay, let me, because so Mohammed, Timanna, Gaurav, Deepak. Okay. Deepak says repeat. All right. Okay, so when we were talking about the example of our big bazaar, once the things were received at the warehouse guys, what did they do? They removed the unwanted packaging and they started stacking everything properly, right? They started putting everything together properly. Let's say this is the rack. All right, they've got probably stationery items from different vendors. What do? They're going to arrange it in a proper way, even in the warehouse. They're not just going to dump it. They'll arrange it in a proper way. All right, they're going to arrange, stack everything. The scales, the erasers, the pens. They're not going to jumble up everything, right? They're going to stack everything properly, right? Similarly over here, what happens is once you've got the logs, right? Normalizing means it is going to come up with a template. It is nothing but it is a template. All right, this template will have details like user, IP, depending on what the log is. Since this is the log, I'm talking with respect to this log itself, authentication log. All right, IP, user, if you have what do you call action. Let's take only these three simple things. This is action, this is IP, this is user. All right, so when SIEM comes across this particular log, right? It understands, it knows what template to use. It picks up this template. In this template, it has user, IP and action. All right, it tries to apply this particular template. That means it is trying to organize the data. Why? Because it is easy for us to understand, right? Let's say there is another, let's say when we are getting the logs, in one field, it talks about user. Okay, in another field, it is user ID, but it is the same user, Joseph. It's the same. Here it says user ID, here it says user. So I can't have two different fields. It is going to get messy, right? Here it says authentication failed, here it says denied. I cannot have multiple fields, right? Because the data is the same. I'm more concerned about what the data is, not the structure, how the structure of this particular log is. No, what is important for me? The data is important for me, correct? So it tries to normalize everything. It tries to standardize. It tries to standardize the data, correct? So, throughout India, right, all of us use something called as kg to measure the weight, not pounds, right? So if one person uses pounds, one person uses kg, one person uses a different measure of unit, we have to convert every time, and it is not easy, right? It is difficult for us to understand, right? So throughout India, there's one standard that we follow, kg, correct? So everything is measured in kg. If you go to England, everything is in pounds, tons, whatever, right? So they understand that better than kg, correct? So similarly, though the format is different, we are concerned only about the data within these logs. That's the reason it tries to standardize the data. By what? By giving it a template. Okay, so when it comes across user, parsing, what does parsing do? It understands, okay, user means this is the user. I'm going to pick that value and put it under user. Okay, this is the IP. All right, this is the IP. I'm going to pick up this IP and put it over here. This is the action. I'm going to put it over here. Right? So normalizing, parsing goes hand in hand. It is nothing but trying to standardize the log, putting it in a proper template and mapping text into fields. What is text into field? The data. This is the data. The text is the data. These are all the fields. I am just match the following. I'm just dumping it over here. That's it. I'm just mapping it there. That's it. Deepak, is that clear now? Sorry, I'm just asking a question. What is the reason when we get logs in stored format? I did not understand. What do you mean? What is the reason when we get logs in stored format? So it depends, right? Let's say this is from a different, let's say, okay, this is from a different tool. This is some from different application. Application A. This is from application B. These are different tools from where we have got the logs from, but it is the same detail. I also gave an example of a firewall, right? The basic job of a firewall is to, I'm talking about the basic job, allow, deny, right? So if you see the logs from Cisco or Palo Alto, they're going to look different because the vendors are different. We're getting the logs from two different people. How will SIM know that it has to fill IP address in that IP field? Yeah, that is the intelligence the SIM has. That is the intelligence what the SIM has. So when I show it in practical, I will tell you what it is, right? So in theoretically, just understand it's a template, all right? So when it comes across a log like this, SIM has the intelligence to know, okay, this is authentication log, so I'm supposed to use a authentication template. It pulls out that template. And in that template, you will have what are the fields that is needs, the field that is required, and the parsing happens. That is how it will know. The intelligence is what the developers have added. All right. So it will have a lot of templates. So let's say your question was with respect to firewall, right? So let's say it comes across the firewall log. All right. As soon as the SIM sees the firewall log, it understands that yes, this is a firewall log, and I have to go get the firewall template. I'm just giving an example, all right? This is the template which I'm supposed to use, and it will go ahead, normalize, and parse the data. No, you don't have to import any of these details into SIM. This intelligence is already there in SIM. Okay, the intelligence is already there in SIM. It just goes, fetches that particular template, applies to a set of logs. That's it. Okay. Everybody on the same page? Understood what normalization and parsing is? Clear?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
clear.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Will we be able to start Splunk today? Let us see. We just have one more, just couple of things to learn, right? This is very simple, right? And after which I will tell you about Splunk. So I've already started the Splunk. So let's see. We'll see that, Kedar. We'll see how that works out. So attendance. I'll quickly do that. Can everybody please log into a Magic portal? Is everybody logged into Magic portal? Do let me know once you guys are ready. I will initiate the attendance from my end.
Yeah, ready.
That should be. Yeah, ready.
Ready? Okay, I've initiated the attendance from my end. I have a couple of minutes. So
Done.
all right, okay. So please take some others, please try to log in and I see many
Done.
absence. I see many absence still. Okay.
Could you please do some outline like what we are going to learn like in next couple of days?
I've already told that in
Like
the initial class as well, right? What will be the, but anyway, I can do that. I'll do that.
yeah, so we have idea like daily what we are going to learn because sometime like we
Okay,
can
because even today, even yesterday, right? I always tell what I'll be discussing in the next class. So anyway, I can repeat that. No problem. That's okay.
like do you not have like some like trainers have like agenda kind of thing like in PPT like so you can share that.
Very first day, I showed what is the plan like. That is pretty much it, right? Apart from that, not really, nothing much. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to log into.
Can I have 5 minutes break, Shruti?
Sure. Uh, you guys can have. I mean, does everybody want a break? If everybody wants a break, then you guys can take a quick break and be back by 8:35. Does everybody want a break? Yes or no?
Okay.
Yeah. Say
Not,
something.
not really.
We have
Okay,
regular
please,
work
please
on
take a
9.
break. Yeah, please go take a break. We'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay.
I mean, not really. Don't need a break actually.
I'll be here if anybody wants to discuss anything. We can discuss. But people who want to take a break, please feel free. Go take a break. I'm just going to refresh the attendance and check meanwhile. So someone had an issue last time. Aditi, right? Aditi, did you check with your S3 about sorry, Aarti. I'm so sorry I got your name wrong. Aarti? Aarti, are you there? Anyway, meanwhile, let's mark the attendance if we are all. Yeah, we already did that. Arvind, please log in again. I mean, log in and mark the attendance. So we do that at around 8:30, right? So that's already initiated from my end. I think you are dosed off with too much of practical, I mean, theory. So Arvind, please log into your magic portal and
Hello, Stuti.
okay, super. Yes. Yeah, Nivedita, please tell me.
Yes. Stuti, I just wanted a clarification on when you said agent will be installed. Is it like any another agent of the SIEM tool they have, or like a third party? What is that?
No, it is totally of whatever SIM solution that you use. So,
So we are going to install
I
SIEM
will tell
only.
you. I will tell you. I'll better show that to you. It's nothing but a software. Sorry, someone is saying anything?
So is that a forwarder you're talking about, that agent?
Yeah, I'm talking about a forwarder, but I don't want to like use too technical terms as of now because I've not introduced Splunk yet.
Okay.
Right? That's the only reason. So I'll show that to you. Give me one quick minute. Right? What I mean by the agent, it is nothing but a piece of software. That's it, nothing else. No, like how you install antivirus on your system, right? You just
Yes,
download that software, you install it on your system, correct? So very much similar to that. I'll be showing it to you. I thought I'll show that to you when I introduce Splunk, but that's all right. Okay, I'm going to ask you to do all these things.
Always wanted.
I'm sorry.
I wanted to learn the Splunk because I use Splunk at my work, but I have no idea.
That's all right. We'll be starting it anyway. Either today, if we are done with the break soon, or from tomorrow, we'll be starting with Splunk.
Okay.
So, yeah. So do you see something called Splunk Universal Forwarder? Yeah. If you read what it does, what does it say?
It collects data remotely.
Correct. Remotely it collects and it forwards it, right? So what is it? It is nothing but an agent. So if I click on download now, right? If I just click on download now, do you see what is it? It is nothing but a software.
Oh.
Right? Small software. That's it. It is hardly 60 MB. Right? This is for your Windows 10. Whichever flavor you want, whichever OS you can select. Right? And you can download that onto your systems. I mean, whichever system you want to monitor from. So this is what your agent is. I mean, this is very much with respect to Splunk. Because we are going to focus only on Splunk. So this is how the it looks like, the agent looks like. Is
Yes,
that
Stuti,
clear now?
one more doubt I have.
Yes.
Yeah, while explaining syslog server. So you said something about Linux and Windows server. Like what is it and how it is? Like I
No,
didn't get that.
no. I was just telling that you can dump all the logs to any another machine. It can be either a Windows machine or a Linux machine. So syslogs are usually Linux machines. All right.
Yeah.
That is all I said. I mean, just the OS part.
Okay.
So you can get the logs from any machine, Windows, Linux. See here, Mac OS, anything. You just have to make sure you install that particular file, and then you should know how to use. For Mac, I've never tried. All right, so I think Ken has a Mac system, so Ken has to download. I mean, it will not be a universal forwarder. None of you will be installing universal forwarder. You will be installing Splunk Enterprise. So I'll tell you the difference of both. Anyway.
So these logs are
But you
dumped
know
through this.
the Splunk, what you're teaching, we have the cloud trial and the software downloader. What do we do? The software downloader?
Here you want to download, is that what you're asking?
Like when we go to Splunk,
Uh-huh.
yes, and we want to
Installing on. Okay. So if you guys, I mean, of course, I will ask you guys to install what is called as a Splunk Enterprise.
Splunk Enterprise.
Splunk
Okay.
Enterprise is something which all of you, I mean, this is a task activity that I'll give you later today while we are ending the class, right? This is what you have to install. It's a pretty straightforward installation. You can do it by yourself, all of you. So before you download, right, you have to sign up. You have to give in your details, sign up, and then you will be able to download it. Yeah, Vandita, were you saying something? Sorry, Nivedita, what's wrong with me?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, tell me.
Yes, I got clear with that.
Clear? Okay. Free trial formality is 60 days. 60 days, and even after 60 days, you can, extend it. Shouldn't be a problem, right? Does Proofpoint and CrowdStrike will come under agents in Splunk or external? No, those are different. Those are totally different. Your CrowdStrike is different, right? Your Proofpoint is different. Splunk is a different tool. It's a SIEM tool. You can CrowdStrike Falcon, if you say, it would be your EDR, right? So different vendors, different softwares. Yes.
Stuti, we can take logs from Proofpoint and CrowdStrike now.
You can take logs from that. Yes. This
Okay,
question,
okay.
I think, comes under agents in Splunk, right? So I said, no, those are different agents.
Okay.
So my question is, are we going to download the cloud trial or software download?
No, it's a software download. Splunk Enterprise, right? This one. This is a 60-day free trial, right? So you can please download this. But let us first complete our aggregation and correlation, SIEM. Let us understand SIEM completely. And then after that, it is straight away to your Splunk. See, so we are just a slide away. So we'll quickly finish this, shall we? I hope everyone's, few of you are back from break. Deepak, just hold on for 1 minute. All right. Once we move on to Splunk, I'll tell you what to install. So shall we proceed, guys?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
yes, please proceed.
Okay.
Like.
Yes, you may continue.
Okay. So we had stopped it. Normalization and parsing. I hope that is clear. It is nothing but giving it a proper template. Okay. So once that is done, right? Aggregation. So this is nothing but, you're grouping all the events into similar events. Grouping all similar events in one. That's it. I'll talk about this when we come across Splunk. It is nothing but grouping of similar events. That's it. All similar events are grouped in one. All similar products are grouped in one. That's it. If you understand that much, should be more than enough. I'll give you an example for that when we are learning Splunk. Okay, so this is something which is important when we talk about analyze, correlation, whatever. So we got to know now what have we done. We have got the logs from various devices, right? We have got logs from various devices. So this is where that upside triangle comes into picture. Sorry, it doesn't look like a triangle. Anyway, so what did we do? We collected a lot of information, didn't we? So don't you think we would have a lot of information? Yes, this is a lot of information, right? We have got logs from various tools, servers, firewalls, routers, right? A lot of information, correct? As analysts, what are we going to do? We're going to analyze this, right? We're going to analyze this. We are going to make sure we filter out and we take only the information that we want. So we do that. We need not monitor all this. We'll monitor only the ones what we need, right? We are filtering it out. We're filtering out the data. Yes or no?
Yes, Shruti.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, and then what are we going to do? We are going to sit and analyze. And for us to analyze the data, all right, what are we are going to, let's say you can build dashboards to analyze the data, and you can create alerts to analyze the data. So when you create alerts, what are you doing? You're giving in some kind of criteria, right? If A is equal to blah, 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 create an alert. If if IP is equal to or if is equal to some IP, I'm just giving you basic of the basic example, is equal to some let's say a destination IP is equal to some blacklisted IP, then create an alert, trigger an alert. So what am I doing? I have so much of data, but I am trying to filter out so that I totally in the final I get to work on only few events. Sorry for my drawing, scribbling like a kid. Erase this. Okay, so I initially started with, let's say, 1 lakh events. Okay, 1 lakh events. But towards the end, after I filter out unwanted information, after I start analyzing, after I write some alerts, right, that is going to come down to hardly 10 alerts. Yes or no?
Yes.
So I don't have to, if I sit and analyze this, our job as analysts, right? There'll be lot of genuine events here, right? There'll be lot of genuine events. As analysts, what are we here for? To find out the abnormalities, right? To understand what is going wrong in the system. To understand what is going wrong in the system, right? We have got all the logs. We are going to filter out whichever is needed for us. We're going to analyze. We're going to write some alerts. Okay. If it matches a particular criteria, then trigger an alert. So the criteria, whatever you write, it would be some kind of a abnormality, right? If it matches that, if there is an abnormality and it matches that particular criteria, then we'll get an alert. So this is what as analysts we have to do. We'll be dealing with a lot of data, make sure we filter it out, analyze it, create alerts, write alerts, right? And then make sure it triggers some alert and we work on these alerts. We focus on these alerts and, we investigate. Because if at all I start investigating this 10 lakh events, right, it won't make any sense because most of the information whatever you find will be a genuine kind of a traffic, genuine day-to-day task performing, what users are performing, the traffic, most of it will be genuine. Our job is to figure out the ones which are suspicious. To take a very simple example, let's say we are getting the logs from firewall day in and day out, lot of logs, right? And let's say you have written a rule which says which says if at all, if at all the bytes, we saw the bytes information, right? Bytes, if you remember from the logs, let's say I have written a log, I've written an alert wherein it says if the bytes information is greater than 10,000 bytes, trigger an alert. Okay, so the criteria is if at all the bytes information is greater than 10,000 and if the destination IP is the public IP, trigger an alert. All right, so what has happened? Now you guys are monitoring. There is an alert which is triggered wherein you notice that there is an internal system which is trying to send data to some IP over the internet, some public IP, and the bytes sent is greater than 10,000. All right, you notice that, okay, there's an alert, fine. You're investigating this, you come across, this is the machine, let's call it as 123. This is the host name of that machine. Okay, this is one alert, you're working on it. Let's say, parallelly, there is also someone else who is working on alerts. All right, they have come across another alert which talks about, a huge amount of download from an FTP server. FTP is what? A file transfer server where the files are stored, right? If at all, we are dealing with clients or internally, right, to share the documents. So let's say there was some critical files which we are monitoring, and you notice that some user has downloaded that particular file. Okay, and it is alerted. Your alert is, you have written an alert to identify such downloads, and an alert has triggered, and you are doing an investigation, right? You see, okay, there is a download, and that other person also sees it is the same machine which is downloading from FTP server. Okay, but let's say, Irshad is working on this alert and Ken is working on this alert. They don't know that they are dealing with the same user machine. This is the same user machine for which we have an alert from FTP server also, from firewall also. Let's say they go and try to raise a ticket, all right, to to this user saying this is what is happening. That is when they realize, hey, this is the same user. Hey, look, I've got the same alert for FTP and this is the same for firewall. So what is it that you guys might do? Don't you think you will try to, connect the dots? When I say connect the dots, that means don't you think you will build a story thinking, hey, maybe looking at the timing, this person had downloaded it from FTP server and now the same user, it looks like the same file, looking at the size of the file, right? Looks like he's sending out too much of information that to some, file sharing website or something over the internet, like your drive. Wouldn't you do that?
Yes.
What is it? That is nothing but you're trying to connect the dots. You're trying to correlate the event. So this event was different from your firewall and this FTP event was different, but you had a common factor of a user, same user, and you tried to connect the dots. You tried to build a story. So what does the detectives do when they are working on a case, right? They try to talk to multiple people. Let's say there is some incident which has happened, right? Let's say a killing or something, right? So they talk to the victim's family, victim's friends, wherever the victim has gone around the places, right? They talk to different people and they try to build a story. They try to connect the dots. That is exactly what a correlation is. You are relating multiple events. You're correlating. So alert is simple. You just write a criteria. If it matches, it triggers. Alert is very simple. When you write a correlation search or a correlation, it is called a correlation search, right? That means you are relating multiple events and you are writing another alert. That is called as a correlation search. You are correlating it. You're correlating multiple events. There are two events here and you're trying to relate it. You're trying to connect the dots. Right? That is called as correlation. So all of this, your analysis, you're creating the rules, you're creating correlation rule, all of this can be done on your SIEM.
Hello, Stuti.
Yes, please.
Yeah. What is that? Connecting the dots means? Dot means?
That is what I meant, right? So this is a different alert. This is a different alert. Let's say that victim, right? You talk to the victim's family, right? They tell a particular story, right? You talk to the victim's friends. They tell a particular story, right? Then you try to connect. Connect whatever the parents had told, whatever the friends had told. Is there any common thing? Is there something which connects these two incidents? Right? They try to build a story. So connecting the dots is nothing but trying to relate the different events.
Okay.
That is all.
Okay.
Okay, so all of this can be done on your SIM. So what did we do? We got all the logs, right? We got all the logs. Once we had the logs, we put it in a proper standard. We gave it a proper template by normalizing and parsing. We removed the unwanted data, whichever we did not want. We removed everything, right? And then you can either group the data or you can start analyzing the data. How will you analyze? You can build dashboards, you can build small queries, all right? You can build small queries to, add some intelligence so that it triggers some kind of an alert, right? So all of these rule creation, alert creation, everything comes in the SIM itself. So these are the things, if in interview they ask you about a SIM, how a SIM works, irrespective of whether it is IBM QRadar, if it is Logarithm or Sentinel or Splunk, if it is a generic question, this is what you can tell. So SIM is a solution wherein it is, we try to gather all the logs, we try to gather all the information in one place. And why we are doing this? So that it will help us analyze. Since we as analysts, our job is to analyze the data to make sure that we are able to detect the abnormalities, or if let's say abnormality as in something suspicious in the network, in your infrastructure. To analyze that, we need information from multiple devices. So what do? We install an agent. We try to gather all the information, then we start filtering it out, then we parse the data, normalize the data. That means we are giving it a proper structure, removing the unwanted information. On top of that, we try to create the rules or the alerts so that it identifies these abnormalities and triggers an alert. Is that something you guys understood? Yes or no?
Yes.
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 Everybody?
Yes.
Let me see if you have any questions. I did not see any questions. Yes. Avinash, sorry, I missed your message. So agents will be from different vendors, but all vendors will come under SIM. I mean, all vendors will get logs from SIM. They won't get logs from SIM. You get logs from different devices into your SIM, right? So what are we doing here? Just think about this Big Bazaar example, right? You're not sending to different vendors. You're getting all the things to your Big Bazaar, right? Similarly, all of these could be from different vendors. All of this logs you're collecting in SIM. So these guys are not using any logs from SIM. We are using SIM. Why? Because we want to analyze. We want to analyze the logs. We want to identify if something is, something is suspicious, something looks malicious, something which is not, something which is abnormal, right? That is why we use SIM, right? To identify. To identify, we need to get logs, we need to have data, right? That's why if at all, even if you have a, let's say this is a CrowdStrike, right? CrowdStrike Falcon, you can get the logs from there to SIM, not the other way around. These guys do not want any logs from SIM. They have their own, right? This is a centralized monitoring unit. Is that correct? Is that fine, Avinash? Did you understand that?
Stuti,
Yes.
SIM don't have the capability to take actions.
Action as in, like to stop, block, like that you're
Yes,
talking?
yes, block the URL, block the.
No, no.
We have to do
So,
it in a SOR.
you have to SOAR also. Yeah, SOAR you can add that particular intelligence automation. Yes, you can. All right. In SIM, it will get alerted only. It will alert you for you to take action.
Okay, manual action.
Manual action, yes. But let's say, for example, EDR, if you are getting logs from your CrowdStrike, the CrowdStrike might have already taken the action, right? But you're still getting the logs. Okay. Why? Because we need to know which system is being infected and how many times this infection, if this system every time, very often the system gets infected, all of that information, right? Those things also you can add some value to whatever your tool has detected using a SIM.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that you can do on your SIM. We can create the, we can collect. After we collect, we can analyze. And definitely, since you have a lot of logs, you can build your alerts, dashboards, right? You can keep continuous monitoring. Okay. And one more important thing, of course, yesterday I told you about audit, right? Compliance. It will match the compliance requirement. Okay, of storing the data, managing the data, right? It will be an IT compliance. Okay, so I'm just going to show you Splunk. All right, whatever we do, went through today, aggregation, correlation, all of these things, right? Sorry, anybody saying anything? No. So everything in the back end, whatever you see here, everything happens in the back end. All right, everything happens in the back end. You don't really have to normalize. You might have to do some bit of parsing if at all the parsing is not happening. Otherwise, we are good to go. All right. So in your Splunk, we were talking about, I'll just tell you in a very simple way. We have 5 more minutes, I hope. All right. What was the first step that we learned today? What was the first step?
Collecting data.
Normalization.
First step, it was collecting the data. We need the data to normalize,
Collecting
right?
data.
Right? So let us add the data. Okay. Just going to show it in Splunk so that you can get a little bit of better idea. So what am I doing? I'm collecting the log. All right. So this is Splunk Enterprise. I'll explain what is this, everything later. We're just trying to understand whatever we learned theoretically. All right. That's it. Don't break your head. What is Splunk Enterprise? I'll tell it everything to you guys tomorrow. So first is collecting, right? So I'm just going to upload some file from my system itself, because let's say I want to monitor those files. All right. So I'm going to select a file. I want to say probably there are some log files. Okay. Some 8 KB file. Okay. I have added that file over here. Now, what was the next thing? It was after getting the data, what was the next thing?
Normalization.
Normalizing and parsing.
Yes.
All right. So see what happened. Even though it was a CSV file, it was an Excel file. Never mind. But had it been some other kind of a data also, it would have given this structure. You see the structure?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So this is what happens. It normalizes the data. So you see something called as a source type, right? So these are nothing but the template what I was talking about. It it understands. So I did not tell it that it's a CSV file. I know it says .csv, right? So it was able to understand it as CSV file. It has picked up the template of the CSV file. It has picked up the template of the CSV file, and it has, it has done all the job for us. Okay, this is manually I'm uploading. All right, tomorrow we will install on couple of systems and we will get the real-time data. That time you'll understand more better, but I just wanted to show this is what your normalizing happens. Okay, so it gives a proper format. So all of these things, whatever you see, right, these are all different templates which it picks up. It understands, okay, if it is a syslog, where is syslog? Where is syslog? I saw syslog. Network and security. If it is from a syslog, it will think that, okay, this is a syslog, and it will give a different format. Now see how it looks. It looks totally different, right? It is a totally different. So it will understand what kind of a file, what kind of a what do you call log it is. It has the intelligence to pick whatever is required, and as soon as it picks CSV, look at this. This is in the CSV proper format. If I change it into a different thing, like how I did, let's say I'm just picking up something, right? Do you see? Do you see the changes? Is it in the right format?
No.
It's not in the right format. It looks like you have the data, but it is not normalized. It is not normalized. So did I, when I came back, when I went ahead, right, did I give the source type or it had already picked up CSV?
It already picked.
Yeah. So who gave that intelligence? The
Splunk.
SIM has the intelligence to see what the log is, right? What is it that I have to select, right? It selects that and it parses the data or normalizes the data. Is that clear, everybody?
Yeah.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so tomorrow we will jump into Splunk. All right, the architecture of Splunk won't take much time, and we will start. We'll try to start the like we'll install it on your systems. Okay, tomorrow we'll install it on your machines, and you can also practice side by side. Parallel, you guys can practice. Okay, so this is something which could be asked in your interviews about the SIM architecture or how a SIM works is interview question they can ask you, and of course about the Splunk architecture, which we will be discussing tomorrow about the Splunk architecture. All right, we will discuss about the Splunk architecture tomorrow. We will install Splunk on a couple of machines and we'll try to get the logs from those machines. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right, guys. If you have any doubts, if anybody has any doubts, you can stay back. Otherwise, feel free to leave the class. Thank you. And any doubts, please stay back. You can ask. Yes, that's right. I uploaded a CSV, right? So it was able to understand it's a CSV and it, normalize the data in that format. No problem. That's okay. Any doubts, guys? Any doubts so far? Yes, no, maybe.
No doubt. It's all clear. All good.
When will you start labs, ma'am? So once the theory is done, we'll start the labs, right? So theory is almost done. Tomorrow, a little bit of theory, and we will start the labs. So before we jump into labs, we should have our foundations right, no? That's the only reason, little bit of emphasis on theory. That's
Could you please share the slide? And yesterday also you were showing something, some documents.
I
So
shared yesterday, right? Yesterday's document I've shared.
okay, where, like in the Teams or WhatsApp?
No, I shared it in the Teams.
Okay, when did you share? Actually?
No, ma'am, it's on WhatsApp in PDF
Sorry,
format.
sorry, on WhatsApp. I'm sorry. Slip of tongue.
No,
Yeah,
no.
on WhatsApp I shared. As soon as the class got over, I shared.
Yesterday.
Yep, yep.
Okay, let me check.
Don't check my messages also. Okay.
Yes,
So
you
every
shared
device.
yesterday.
No, I was just kidding. So every device is send logs in different format. Yes, that's right. It will. Quick recall of today's session. The SIM agent will be installed on all servers which needs to be monitored. Yes, that's right, Mohammed. Yes, you're absolutely right. And Deepak, yes. A quick recall. Yes. Okay, can you tell me what is it that you have understood, Deepak? Or do you want me to tell? So always imagine this, take this example of Big Bazaar. All right. A very simple thing for you to correlate with SIM, correct? So the first thing as analysts, I keep saying, our job is to understand the abnormality in our infrastructure. So for you to understand something, you need information, right? Only when you know there is only when you know there is enough information, only then you can start working on it. So from where will you get this information? You will get this information from various devices, right? So to get these logs from various devices, we install agents on all those devices. We will get all the logs in one location. One location, why? Because it is easy for us to manage the data. It is easy for us to, run our analysis, write the rules, write the alerts, write the correlation searches, right? So that's the reason we have to collect the data. Once the data is collected, we have to make sure that everything follows a proper standard. So if it is logged from multiple firewall systems, let's say multiple Cisco, multiple Palo Alto devices, but it should still show in the proper format, right? It should be in the right format for us to understand it's a proper standard. So that's why the log is then normalized, parsed, right? And then once all of this is done, you can start analyzing the data. And for you to analyze the data, what do? We write small rules or queries, right? So that you will be able to identify if there is any abnormality or if there is anything suspicious.
Hey, hi, Stiti. This is Vishnu.
The
Do we
agents
have
are
an option to event forwarding like Linux devices, or do we need to install agent from those servers as well? Uh,
you would need to
hosts devices.
see, it's not always an agent, all right? If there are any but more see, depending on what the tool is, if you're talking about Linux, we can always install we usually install an agent on Linux machines and get the data.
Uh, why? Because I'm asking, in QRadar, we have an option event forwarding direct to that event collectors. So like here we have that option, or we need to
We
install
need to install
like whatever the device we need logs, then we have
you
to
need to
install.
install. Yeah, but there is also another option where you can use APIs also. You can have a API call. Let's say it's a tool. You can't install an agent there, right? But there is a API for that particular tool, right? You can use that API and you can, get those logs. I'll talk about it tomorrow.
I think we also have HTTP event collector, I think.
Yes, you have HTTP event collectors. Yes, mostly for the cloud, right? You use HTTP event collectors. You can
Yes.
dump the logs. Yes.
Okay, and how about the cloud agent, cloud logs? Those from there also we have to install.
You can, or like he said, you can use the HTTP event collectors. You can use that, or you can definitely see one in cloud. There'll be physical machines in the, I mean, not physical machine, but even if it's a VM, you will have access to the VM. You can install an agent on that VM as well. So you can do it. See, it totally depends on your organization, how they want to do it. You can install agents even on your cloud machines and get the logs. You can do that. But usually what happens is cloud will have a separate monitoring, right? Like if you take an example of your AWS, you will have guard duty or cloud trail, isn't it? So you can what do you call, you can get the logs from CloudTrail itself. You don't have to install agent on each and every virtual machine. You need not do that, or even HTTP collector. No, you can just use this what do you call, integration with the AWS guard duty. You can get the logs from there directly.
And here Splunk, these log collection. Do you have any collection agents? Sorry, in Splunk side, like event collectors in QRadar like that.
Yeah, we have a Splunk agent. I'll be showing that to you tomorrow. I was showing it in the break also. So there's something called as a Splunk Universal Forwarder, right? That will act like an agent. That is a piece of software that you have to install on any machine that you want logs from. That will do the job for you.
So all the workstations will forwarding those logs to there. From
If
there,
you want logs
it
from
happens
workstation,
correlation and aggregation.
sorry, can you please repeat that?
I'm just asking. So these are all the logs going to that that collector, that agent you told that on Splunk side. There it will happen that correlation and aggregation and correlation.
See, if no, it won't happen on the agent side. Agent is just to monitor and forward the logs. Okay, wherever it forwards the log, that is called as an indexer. I've not come there yet. So in this indexer, whatever you said, right? On this indexer, you it either it parses the data, it normalizes the data, it writes, it stores the data somewhere, and then we write all these correlation rules on the Splunk. I was showing you the Splunk now, right? The console. It is called as a search head. So we write all those rules, everything over there. I've not come there yet. I'll be telling all that tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. So meanwhile, can you share that Splunk architecture so that we will go through it before starting the class, tomorrow's class, so that we have some idea about the names and all.
Yep, sure, can do that. I'll just share the screenshot.
Understanding where correlation happens on aggregation and correlation, these where it happens. We have some basic idea before you start the class.
Yep, you can do that. I can do that. I'll share that screenshot over.
Excuse me, please, I have a question.
I'm sorry?
I have a question.
Yeah, yes, please.
Okay, just one. I was just waiting for him to be through with what he's saying. So you talked about probably the writing codes or commands on Splunk. So do we have like a guide for that, or how do we get to know how to do that?
Yeah, there are guides available, and I will also tell you the basic commands which can be used for what purpose. I'm going to tell you that as well, right? So there are a lot of documents available in the Splunk website itself, but the thing is, right, we can't, it is very difficult for us to, what you call practice everything. All right, depending on what your use case is, what is that required, then you can try to Google about that particular command and learn. So it is difficult. I'm not saying difficult, it is just that there are so many commands, right? We need to, it's not so easy to remember everything. So there will be a reference guide. You can always go back, put in your query. This is what your result, this is how your result should be. So you will get the list of commands that can be used to give you that proper result, right? But the basic queries, whatever is required, that we will learn properly from the scratch.
Okay. So now working on Splunk, do you have to always use those commands, or you can also, there's alternative, like say you can also navigate to, or to get certain information? How does it work?
For writing the alerts, you mean, or rules?
Okay, for instance, for my SQL right now, if you are going to work on server, you have to write the commands to generate your data, right?
Correct, yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Is it also like that with Splunk?
Yes. Yes, it is like that. So all the data is stored in a particular place, all right? That's called as an indexer, all right? And we use something called as a search head, all right? Which is like which goes back to this indexer where the data is stored. And depending on what your query is, it will go fetch the data from there and give you the result. So yes, we have to write those queries. And trust me, it is not so difficult at all. It's very simple, all right? So
Okay, just to understand,
yeah,
where we are. All right, thanks.
that's okay. Anything else? Anything
Okay,
else?
okay, Stuti, thank you.
All
Just
right, no
leaving.
problem. Thanks, Ishad. Bye.
Actually, when people are asking questions, it's not allow me to leave the meeting. So seeing what are the questions are coming. But I have to go now.
Okay. Oh, no problem. Thank you. Bye. So others, any doubts? If not, we can close the session. Are we good here?
Hi, Shruti. This is Vinod.
Vinod, where are you? Yes, Vinod. Yes, tell me.
Yeah, is the working functionalities of EDR and SIEM tools are same or different?
No, it is different because your EDR, it is the capability to detect and respond, right? And wherever you install that EDR, it thoroughly checks that particular system, right? And it throws an alert depending on what the signatures are, right? At your SIEM level, you are getting logs from whichever server, whatever server you want, whatever logs from that server you want, and you are building the intelligence here. You are building the rules over here. It is only going to detect depending on your alert, however good your alert is, right? Only then it is going to detect, and it is not going to take any proactive action, whether to block it or to deny that particular traffic. No, it is going to only alert you.
That means EDR is similar to AV, but we are having extra. Yeah.
Extra capabilities, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
More sophisticated capabilities, yes.
Yeah, it's clear. Thank you, Shruti.
No problem. Anything else? Anybody? No? So are we good here? No other doubts from anybody? Can we close the session?
Yeah, I have one doubt, Stuti.
Yes.
So the security components we use, like security devices we use, right? The unwanted traffic or the malicious traffic that is blocked there and then and there, right? Like in the firewall or something like that.
Yes.
So for that also, do we get alert?
Yes. Yes. So if at all you want to be, if you want all those logs on your Splunk, you can get all those logs as well, even though the traffic is blocked. All right. So there's also one more thing, right? The traffic might be blocked on port 22, but the traffic might be allowed on port 53, right? So we will get all the logs to understand on which port the traffic is blocked, on to which port the traffic is allowed, right? We would need the holistic understanding of that connection, right? So you would get all the logs. Let's say even your IDS, let's say it is not no in prevention mode, it is just detection mode, right? Even then, if it is detected, even though there's an alert from IDS, you can still get those logs onto Splunk. Why? Because you can correlate the same IP in firewall to see what is happening at the firewall level on that IP. You can also check whether there are any other alerts triggered for that IP, any DNS request for that IP, right? You can use that IP for analyzing various things. So we can get all these logs.
Yeah, thank you, Suti.
No problem. Nothing else, guys? Any other doubts? No assignment as such. Yesterday's assignment only Deepak have asked. So I'm not sure if yesterday's was completed. If not, please go ahead and work on that, Deepak, if that's fine. Okay. If we have nothing, can we close the session?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, today.
Okay. All right.
Very much.
Stopping the recording.